Good afternoon. This is Fern. How's everybody doing? Just wanted to share a tip for respecting and respectability when it comes to the youth. You know, I was having a conversation and my daughter and I were talking, and she told me how she had a situation in her homeschooling class and how some of the students felt friendly with her. And we were discussing that because when they were younger, I had already learned that, some things about respectability, you don't call an adult by their first name. And I was corrected when I first had my daughter because I really wasn't sure per se, because I was young, 18, 19. Your youth mindset, you think that you know everything. So I wanted my daughter to call me Fern. And I had a cousin come to me one day, and she was a little older, and she said, Fern, that you're her mother. She can't call you Fern. She has to call you mom, mother, something, but not Fern. And I heeded what she said. It took a while because I had been training her. She was like 3, and I had been training her to call me Fern. So then when I moved one time to this neighborhood, a lot of the kids came to the door and they called me Fern. And they had heard, that my name was Fern. And I instantly had to put a halt to it. Now my name is Miss Fern, if you like to call me Miss Fern, but we're not equals. And that's what I was told, as I was being corrected, that you're not equal, and that how can a child call their parent by their first name? And I had heard it, not a lot, but I had heard it in my time of growing up every now and then. Like, for example, their dad they call Pete, or mom Mary. So I was quickly corrected and reminded, and I told the children in my neighborhood, you cannot call me Fern. So we went to Miss Fern. So my daughter was saying how one of her daughter's friends or associates, called her Miss D, I guess. And then she became very comfortable because my daughter said she had heard this young lady and how comfortable she was with her mom. When you become that comfortable with your children, believe me, the respect is going to drop, especially in the world we're living in. The spirit of respect is being lost when it comes to all types of relationships, especially when it comes to positions of authority. The enemy wants you to become comfortable with just being Mary or Jack or Peter, but never to when you earned. And I know a lot of y'all, being what they call a generation, not X or Z or nothing like that, but the baby boomer generation, y'all comfortable with the kids calling you by your first name. Well, in the spirit of authority and respect, if you got a kid coming up to you and they're calling you by your first name, the respect just went out the window because they don't respect you and your seniority and your age and your life and what you've been through already. They haven't gone through it, so you're definitely not equal. So I think we need to get back, and I know we need to get back to putting the proper authority and respect, because it already was challenged and tried to be taken away in the school system and in the government, where they said you can't spank your kids. Well, you know what? As they said, and I don't have to go that far because if I can help it, I'm not going to let my child or my grandchildren go into the system, because who's the system but a bunch of rebellious people? They don't obey the laws of God. They don't want to even hear about the laws of God. They don't want to hear about a word of law, period, because that's how disrespectful the times we're living in is. They don't want to come up underneath the spirit of order. We live in a world of disorder. Everybody want to be the president, but nobody wants to follow the right culture of what is right and what is morally right and what is morally wrong. You just want to do what you want to do. So back to the topic of parents, begin to have your children call you mom, dad, You know, if you're not acting like a mom or dad, you know, it's tells. The kids can tell. And that's love. That's the spirit of love right there, of just being able to know that that spirit of respect is alive and well in you. Because you have to determine what a person's going to call you. And you don't want to be seeming old, but if somebody trips up on you and trips over you, you're not going to say anything? If a child comes up and they cuss you out and you know you're quite a bit older, you're not going to say anything? Where's your authority? Where's your correction? Where's your self-morals? So, you know, what my daughter had to quickly to adjust this young lady to, because now you becoming comfortable like your mother, like now this person, you're going to talk to, you know, your friend's mother like you're equal. And my daughter was like, that is a no-no. That's a quick no-no. So in the spirit of respect and being respectful, you have to take your right place that you've earned. I don't care how foolish you was when you were younger, you don't have to stay a fool. You know, that's the root word of foolish, fool. And there's no respect there. So just wanted to come on and share with you parents, let's get back to respect. Let's get back to order. You know, we want law and order. You don't want nobody, you're doing the speed limit, and all of a sudden somebody comes up on the right side of you or the left side of you and illegal traffic moves, and you're not supposed to say anything, and now they're causing fright or fear, and people laugh it off. It's not funny. You're maneuvering, you're driving down the street, you might have your family in the car, and now all of these yahoos are acting like a fool. It's not funny. So parents, take back your respect. Teenagers, get in your place. Yes ma'am, no ma'am, can I ma'am, asking, you know, you gotta ask. I learned, you know, I just assumed that things go as long as I didn't hurt anyone, but didn't know I was acting out of order. There's order. There's order in the earth. God created order so that there would be peace, that everybody can dwell in the earth in a peaceful level. But if you're against peace and you want to be riotous and rebellion, you're going to get it back. Because the Bible says the seed you sow is the seed you reap. So come on, y'all. Let's get back to respectful. Let's get back to parents. Act like a parent. You know, you can't be friends with your parents, because there's going to come a time when your children are doing things out of order. And if you don't say anything and you just agree with it, then that means you're agreeing to their rebellion. And you don't want to be a part of that. So be encouraged. Help these teens become successful people. You know, went walking today. Video is going longer than I thought it would go. But went walking today, and I was telling my daughter about one of the high schools that I walk at. And in the morning, and this is like 11 o'clock in the morning, 11:30, and the kids are not a bunch, but a good amount are, for the past 2 days, it's been warm weather, but they at the track. Now, the school building, they might be on break hall or whatever, but, you know, something jump off, either or, no adult knows that, or maybe they do know, and they're just like, oh, they could go over there on their break or whatever. I don't know, but there's enough of them over there at the track where you kind of wondering, you seeing people pull up in cars and motorcycle mopeds, and you know, where you send your kids to school thinking they in the building, but all of a sudden they at the track. And I was telling my daughter about it, and she was like, well, Mom, so and so and so and so. And, you know, I could see what she was saying, but you know what? In the end, it's not about me. It's about those kids. When you send your kids to school, and I was telling my daughter, you know, I did it when I was young. My mom think I'm in school, and I'm getting in my car going where I want to go. That's rebellion. That is rebellion, straight up. So you know what? And I had to live the consequences of my rebellion. You don't want your kids growing up having to live the consequences of what you failed to impart into your children. Law and order. There's an order. The Bible tells you there's an order. The Bible says there's going to be a generation that don't know God. But it's terrible when you turn around and, you know, your daughter's pregnant, your son's a father, and then now you're talking all that yang, oh, this, and now the boy's walking away, oh, you know, you ain't got no proof it's mine, oh, and the girl standing there Like, what you gonna do? And then they talking about now all kind of mess to deal with this new life that's gonna come into the world. I'm not saying they're all doing that, or drugs, or getting high, and laid back, just carousing. Well, once they graduate from high school, you already know as a parent, if you're gonna really want to help your child, you ain't gonna want them laying up on nobody, boy or girl. You're gonna want them working out, being a good citizen, bringing home a paycheck so they can take care of themselves, and help, support the family and the lifestyle, and what you want to gain in your family. So parents, please be mindful about the way you are raising your children, and what you allow, what you disallow, because you may not reap it today, you may not reap it tomorrow, but some fruit's going to come from the bearing of you being laid back, and a laid back parent. Just think they could do, I go all the way back even to the bars in the people's houses. Oh, we got a bar in our house. I thought it was glamorous. All my friends had a bar. My mother didn't. That was her choice. But at the same time, you look at the kids and what they've gone through, and house bars and house parties and this and that. It's a lot. It's a lot that in the world they don't tell us in school that we're going to have to face, good or bad. So be encouraged and have a great weekend. Today's Friday, moving forward. So be encouraged, y'all. You can make it, even if you're in a situation. I encourage you to pray. Prayer is simply talking to God. You know what? You ain't got to talk to everyone. You can't trust everyone, but you can always trust God. You can always trust God. The Bible says in Psalms 121:2, my help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. And knowing that you have an advocate who's there to talk with you and direct you and guide you, and they say, oh, friend, I don't hear from God. Well, the more you talk to God, and the more you ask God questions, He'll reveal Himself to you if you really, really want to know. He's a God who's faithful. So be encouraged. Have a great weekend, and I will be talking with you later. Bye-bye.